D-Mace, Vingan, and Donick 1025. The game. Adam Vingan, David Janes, Connor Newt with us to start the program. Willie Donick and Derek Mason will be along shortly. Willie Donick is traveling with the Predators, who are en route to South Florida, where they will take on the Panthers tomorrow night. Derek Mason is attending to a personal matter. He is expected to join us in the second hour at 4 o'clock. Clark Lea will join us. We'll get his thoughts on the college football playoff, which we will get into here in just a moment. I'm also curious about the recruitment of Jared Curtis. That was the big news yesterday. It has since been confirmed that Jared Curtis, the top quarterback prospect out of Nashville Christian, has decommitted from Georgia and has committed to Vanderbilt. So now that it's official, I'm interested to hear about what happened behind the scenes, Connor, to get Jared Curtis to flip from Georgia to Vanderbilt. We will ask Clark Lea about that at 4 o'clock.
Oh, yeah.
By the way, Clark Lea, good luck for the Predators last night. He was at the game. You read the starting lineup for the Predators. They win 5-1 against the Calgary Flames. And a matchup of the two worst teams in the NHL. Somebody had to win. And the Predators ultimately won. Dustin in Hopkinsville, already on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, says, Connor, my brother in UK Blue, indeed a tough one for your Wildcats last night against the Tar Heels.
I mean, that game must have been your own personal hell watching it. Just two teams.
I'm not going to say that I was rooting for the Meteor, but I would rather Kentucky. Look, let me put it this way.
Were you sticking around for the random Jay Williams highlights they threw in there for some reason?
That was interested. That was interesting, I should say. Tayshaun Prince got some screen time as well. You'll learn this, Connor, as you get to know me. ABC, anybody but Carolina. So I was hoping that Kentucky would win yesterday, but alas, that did not happen. Sorry, Dustin and Connor and all of our Wildcats fans out there. But you know what? UK is going to be here on Friday. Music City Madness, Gonzaga versus Kentucky at Bridgestone Arena. So maybe it will all turn around when the Wildcats come to Nashville.
We'll see. I'm not too confident in that one, but regardless.
We'll see. I mean, the Duke-Florida game took years off my life. That was one hell of a game, but incredibly stressful. But let's switch gears from college basketball to college football. But look, we knew that Vanderbilt had a tough road to get into the college football playoff, despite having the best season in program history, 10-2, despite Diego Pavia being, depending on which sports book you look at, the favorite for the Heisman Trophy, despite Clark Lea and everything he's done for the program, despite going to Tennessee and laying the smackdown on the Vols at Neyland Stadium. I guess it didn't matter to the College Football Playoff Committee because Vanderbilt remains at number 14. I believe this is the third week in a row that Vanderbilt has been 14th in the CFP rankings. So, unfortunately, it appears that Vanderbilt's CFP hopes have been dashed. And quite frankly, it sucks.
Yeah.
It really sucks because of how well that team played. They certainly deserve to be in the college football playoff. But, Connor, there are too many other things that have to happen for Vanderbilt to even come close to sniffing the field. And I just don't think it's possible.
They're going to be on the outside looking in, unfortunately. And you use the word that sums it up perfectly. It sucks. There's no other way to describe it because of the season they had, because of the season that they were able to grow off of last year, because of the things they managed to build off of and do. It sucks. You have a Heisman level quarterback who is probably going to be in New York. Whether or not he wins it remains up to be seen, but you've got a lot in your corner if you're Vanderbilt that just wasn't rewarded. And it seems like it's being rewarded for other teams like Notre Dame, and Texas was ranked ahead of you last night. And I understand they have the head-to-head victory, but at the same time, Texas got blown out by Florida, who was a 3-win team on the season. And Texas isn't in, so maybe my anger shouldn't be directed towards them. But Notre Dame being in over Vanderbilt, over Miami is kind of dumbfounding to me. I don't really understand that one. There's just a lot of things that need to go Vanderbilt's way, like you said, Adam, that need to even come true for them to sniff the playoffs. And I don't think it's going to happen. You would need Duke to win the ACC, which is possible, but it's not probable, in my opinion. I don't think, and the best case scenario there is if Duke wins the ACC, 2 G5s are probably getting in. So you'd have the winner of the American Conference Championship between Tulane and North Texas, and then probably JMU who wins the Sun Belt. So it's very improbable for Vanderbilt to get in at this point. Possible very slimly, but it's pretty improbable. And it kind of just sucks if you're a Vanderbilt fan.
It brings me no joy to say this because, as I said in discussing the ACC SEC challenge at the beginning of the show, born in Durham, North Carolina, I love my Blue Devils. The fact that Duke at 7-5 is technically alive in the college football playoff race and Vanderbilt is not, that's just dumb. It's dumb.
It's wild.
It's absolutely dumb. And that's coming from me. I'm not, I look, Duke made the ACC title game on some weird technicality. I believe they were in a 5-way tie for second in the ACC at 6-2, and somehow they won the tiebreaker. I really don't understand how it happened, but the fact that a 7-5 Duke team is still, again, technically alive in the college football playoff race, and that Vanderbilt at 10-2 in the SEC is not, it just makes zero sense.
Right.
It makes zero sense.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but you could make the argument that Vanderbilt in some way is being penalized because of the conference they're in.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, there are a few SEC teams, 4, I believe, that are getting, obviously your SEC champions getting in, and you're going to get probably 3 at-large bids with Ole Miss, Alabama, or Georgia, and A&M all getting in. Vanderbilt, I think, is up there with those teams as well. They just, unfortunately, that loss to Texas and that loss to Alabama, both on the road, by the way, they're obviously being penalized for that. And you and I talked about this before the show, Adam. They talked about last night how Vanderbilt got kind of dinged because they needed overtime at home to beat Auburn. But then they praise Alabama for struggling with the same Auburn team on the road. I don't really understand the logic behind that. This committee, I feel like, contradicts themselves so much on so many levels. It's hard to keep up with. So if you're a Vanderbilt fan and you're upset with the committee today, I fully believe that you have a right to be.
One texter says, he won't, but I hope Clark Lea rips the committee today. I do not expect Clark Lea to do that.
Let's try and get that out of him.
I can certainly try, but Clark Lea, he's a classy man. I don't expect him to do that. We will talk to Clark at 4.
Clark, you are void of FCC violations today.
Don't listen.
No. You're not behind this class right now.
Please go ahead.
Look, we had Barry Trotz say the full word BS on our show yesterday. So we've already had our one curse word for the month or even the year. So no, Clark Lea, he won't rip the committee, but I am interested to hear what Clark Lea has to say now that he knows his team's fate when it comes to the college football playoff. But to your point, Connor, about the college football committee contradicting itself, at the end of every reveal, the chairman, who is now Hunter Yurachek, it was Mac Rhodes before, the chairman, does a conference call with reporters explaining the decisions of the committee. And our very own Joe Rexroad was kind enough to send me the transcript. And there were 2 questions asked about Vanderbilt. Here was the first, and I am reading it verbatim from the transcript. Question: Vanderbilt finishing 10-2 in the SEC. What is it that makes Vanderbilt rank so far below other 10-2 SEC teams and even below a 9-3 SEC team with Texas? Hunter Yurachek's response, quote, the committee has a great deal of respect for Vanderbilt and what they have achieved. An amazing season, a 10-win season. When you look at their schedule, now that Tennessee is no longer ranked, they just don't have a signature win. They've got wins against LSU, Missouri, and Tennessee. Missouri and Tennessee were previously ranked in our poll. They are no longer ranked in our poll. Then the 2 ranked teams that Vanderbilt has played, Alabama and Texas, I think both of those games in their own way were a little bit different. The Alabama game is probably a little bit closer than the score indicates, and the Texas game was probably closer than the score actually indicates, because if you remember, Texas was up in that game 34-10. I think it's just lacking that signature win or two that teams like a Texas and a Miami, Utah, teams above them have. See, that's the thing that just grinds my gears, Connor. They don't have a signature win because Tennessee is no longer ranked. Why was Tennessee no longer ranked? Because Vanderbilt kicked the crap out of them.
Yeah, the same thing for LSU, right? LSU was a top 10 team at the time of them losing here, and things had to go the bad way for LSU in consecutive weeks for them to be unranked. Vanderbilt played a part in that, but they don't control that whole thing. South Carolina was a top 15 team when Vanderbilt went on the road and beat them. And I understand South Carolina finished with 3 wins on the season, but they were ranked at the time Vanderbilt beat them. Missouri was ranked at the time that they beat them and lost their quarterback in that game. So I understand the logic there, but I also don't understand the logic there.
So Rex Road tells me that Aria Gerson of the Tennessean asked the question I just read. Rex Road followed up with this question. Hunter, one more follow-up there on Vanderbilt. They go to Tennessee on the road, a rivalry game. I heard you give credit to Alabama for what it did in a rivalry game on the road against Auburn. Win by 21 and Tennessee drops, I guess, at least 7 spots because they're out of the rankings. Vanderbilt doesn't move. Why does that game penalize Tennessee but not result in credit for Vanderbilt? Hunter Yurchek's response, quote, I think it's what happened around Vanderbilt this week, with Texas also getting a win against Texas A&M, who's ranked 3rd, Miami getting a win at a ranked Pittsburgh team, BYU winning against Central Florida. It's not that we didn't want to reward Vanderbilt for this win, but there's some things that happened in and around the teams that they are ranked with that really kept them in that 14th spot.
It's brand bias, unfortunately. Look at Notre Dame, for example. Notre Dame, they say, has a, quote, signature win by the terms of the committee over USC. Why? Because they want them to. Because Notre Dame has money. Because Notre Dame is a national brand. Vanderbilt's not a national brand, unfortunately. They're a black and gold team in the middle of Nashville that's been the bottom barrel of the SEC for many, many years. And now they're not. So Notre Dame, I think that's the reason they're in. They want viewership money. They want the money. And honestly, I think Vanderbilt has a much better resume than Notre Dame does. But Notre Dame is going to get the benefit of the doubt because they're Notre Dame. That's just how it is.
Here's the other thing. So Yurchek says to Rex Rhodes' question, I think it's what happened around Vanderbilt this week with Texas also getting a win at Texas A&M, which is an impressive win, despite the fact that Texas is 9-3. Miami getting a win at a ranked Pittsburgh team. Okay. Pittsburgh, this was last week's CFP rankings. Tennessee was 19th. Pittsburgh was 22nd. So is Vanderbilt's win at Tennessee less impressive than Miami's win at Pittsburgh? That makes no sense to me.
I mean, if you compare the rosters side by side and the resumes of Tennessee and Pittsburgh, granted, neither have a signature win, but I would argue that Tennessee is a much better team than Pittsburgh. So.
I would argue that as well. So it makes zero sense to me. And I understand that, look, had Vanderbilt beaten Texas on the road, had Vanderbilt beaten Alabama on the road, one of those 2 games, they're probably in the SEC title game, I would assume. They're probably in. But, like, the explanations from this committee just make no sense to me. As you said earlier, Rex Road mentioned this morning, that a few weeks ago, the committee criticized, for lack of a better word, Vanderbilt for needing overtime to beat Auburn at home. But then that same committee, I mean, it's a different chairman, but that same committee is now praising Alabama for squeaking out a win at Auburn. It just, pick a lane, make up your mind. The knots that these committee members seem to be tying themselves in just to justify the rankings, it just makes, like, look, I don't want to be that guy who says Vanderbilt got screwed, but it's hard not to look at what they've accomplished. The fact that how often has Vanderbilt gone into Neyland Stadium and won that way?
Right.
It's rare.
Maybe never.
If I recall correctly, the 45 points that Vanderbilt scored on Tennessee were the most in the rivalry in terms of Vanderbilt on Tennessee in like 100 years, or like something close to that. Like, So I feel like Vanderbilt is being penalized. Vanderbilt is being penalized. They should not be at 14th after destroying Tennessee. It just makes no sense to me.
I agree.
Let's see. Terrell on our text line says it's about money. Notre Dame fans travel. Vanderbilt fans don't even travel up East Tennessee. And Duke is only technically possible because of ACC Conference Championship. Texas had a stronger schedule. A lot of those things are true. Texas did have a stronger schedule than Vanderbilt. Texas also beat Vanderbilt. But Texas has 3 losses. No 3-loss team has ever made the college football playoff. Texas moved up 3 spots last night, and Texas lost to Florida. Well, I think Hunter Yurachek said at some point, he was asked a question about Texas, and he was looking at all of the losses, maybe the top 10, top 12. I can't remember the number. But he was like, there's only one team that's lost to another team that wasn't ranked, and it was Texas losing to Florida. Like, that's an awful loss.
Yeah.
Absolutely awful loss. And that loss is going to cost Texas. We've got a couple of texts on our text line that next year will be better for Vanderbilt because now they're on the map. Once Dave says, I said earlier this week, Vandy would get screwed by beating Tennessee handy. They have the same season or better next year, then they'll get the respect they deserve and get in. Same as last year with Indiana. No respect last year, but got it and are in this year. So Vandy fans, don't be too sad. We'll be jumping up and down this time next year. You heard it here first, LOL.
I don't think that's a great comparison. Indiana's undefeated in the regular season.
And Indiana made the college football playoff last year.
Yes. I don't think that's a great comparison.
I understand the sentiment that Vanderbilt, Willie likes to say, Vanderbilt. Like, I can't believe you lost to Vanderbilt. Like, there's still that vibe with Vanderbilt in college football that, hey, it was a great season. We'll see if it was just a one-off or if they can sustain it when Diego Pavia isn't there anymore. But if Vanderbilt is able to have a similar season next year, I can see the point that the texter was trying to make, that now that they've had one season at 10-2, maybe the committee will look at them a little bit differently if they're able to replicate it.
Yeah, but I think you got to look at it this way as well. Every team in the nation has that argument too. Every team in the nation is going to have some turnover and lose some key pieces because that's how college sports works. Texas is going to lose some key pieces too. Alabama is going to lose some key pieces. Every team in the SEC is going to lose some key pieces. So Vanderbilt, I think you're right. They're going to need to prove that they can sustain this success. They have over the past 2 years, obviously going 7-6 last year, and then now they're 10-2 this year, bowl game pending. There's going to be some turnover. You're going to lose Diego Pavia. You're going to lose Eli Stowers. You're going to lose some key pieces to your offense. But at the same time, the portal is going to open. You're obviously recruiting well. You just got the highest recruit in program history today in Jared Curtis. So the future is bright for Vanderbilt. I think you can look at this and say, next year, to Dave's point, if we sustain this level of success again and we prove that we are still a prominent program in the SEC, then yes, I think there's an argument for you to make the college football playoff pending anything else that happens. But it's such a rare case this year in that a 10-2 SEC team is not getting in because of the things that happened in front of them, like the things going on in the Big 12 with BYU and Texas Tech, like kind of the losses you suffered this season in the SEC, like Texas beating Texas A&M in the last week of the season. There's so many things going on outside of Vanderbilt's control this season that it kind of just sucks that they're not getting in, and there's not really much they can do about it. So I think for the future, yeah, maybe 8 years out of 10, Vanderbilt probably gets into the college football playoff, but this just happens to be one of those rare case years where it doesn't happen.
615-737-1025. Our phone and text lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Your reaction. Vanderbilt stuck at number 14 in the CFP rankings. It's all over but the crying for the Commodores and the college football playoff, unfortunately. Your reaction, 615-737-1025. Once again, Clark Lea will join us at 4. We'll get his reaction to this and much more coming up at 4. 615-737-1025. We are broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service.
Number 14. The Vanderbilt Commodores, also 10-win team, only 2 losses on the road at Texas, at Alabama.
You know what's amazing to me is everybody keeps beating the horn and talking about Texas, Texas, Texas. Well, if you like Texas, you got to love Vanderbilt at 10-2. How they played. Diego Pavia should be in New York for the Heisman Trophy. Clark Lea gets an extension. This is a team that's on the rise, and they're playing as good a football as anybody in America.
Well, apparently that doesn't matter to the College Football Playoff Committee. That was the CFP reveal last night. It doesn't matter, apparently, that Vanderbilt is playing some of the best football in America because they are stuck at number 14, which means it's highly, highly, highly unlikely that the Commodores will be in the 12-team field for the College Football Playoff when that is unveiled.
You could have said that like
next
The
week.
Rock. It would have been awesome.
It doesn't matter. I could
There
have
we
done
go.
that, but I can't do that justice. Connor Newt, Adam Vingan here with you. Willie Donick and Derek Mason will join the program shortly. Willie's traveling with the Predators. Derek Mason attending to a personal matter, but he will be in by 4 o'clock when we have Clark Lea on the program. Let's get to some of your reaction at 615-737-1025. If our text line will load, that's always the best part. When you're like, let's get to your reaction. And then the text
And
line.
then you can't.
And then the text line is just around and around and around. Well, while we wait for that, I think the most controversial decision made last night was Alabama leaping Notre Dame at number 9.
I'm actually in favor of that.
Explain how.
Notre Dame, I don't think, has a marquee win other than USC. They haven't beaten anyone other than that, and USC was in South Bend. They obviously lost to Texas A&M. They obviously lost to Miami. They're 10-2. Alabama's also 10-2, but Alabama has marquee wins. They have the win over a top 4 Georgia. They have the win over LSU, who was ranked at the time. They have obviously lost to Oklahoma and struggled with Auburn, but I feel like if you compare the resumes side by side between Alabama and Notre Dame, I think it favors Alabama.
Let's go to David on our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHunter.com. David, thank you for calling. Go ahead. David, you there?
Hello?
Yes, hi. Go ahead. David,
Yes.
go ahead. You're on the air. Okay,
Hello?
David, call us back because he's clearly not listening. All right. Our text line is operational, so let's read some of your text. 615-737-1025. One texter says, it is horse bleep that Vanderbilt doesn't travel in the postseason. Their alumni are spread out across the country. In recent years, they have had better attendance in the bowl games than the majority of other teams. Go ask the Liberty Bowl, the Birmingham Bowl, any other bowl they've been in, and they would have loved to have them back because of the tickets sold. Mike in Lebanon says the difference between Vandy and Texas, one name, Manning. It's always about TV ratings and money. Well, in this case, look, I know that Texas has 3 losses, but Texas did beat Vanderbilt. So
Yeah.
I understand them being ahead of Vanderbilt in the rankings. Chris in Nashville says there's way too much crying. I'm not crying. Do you see any tears?
I'm not crying.
No
And-
tears.
And I'm not saying Vanderbilt got completely screwed. I'm just trying to call it down the middle the way I see it.
Justin in Greenbrier says Vanderbilt has been disrespected, period. This committee is nothing but a joke. Their own logic is circular, and they move the goalpost to satisfy who has the deeper pockets. It sucks, and that's all you can say.
I think it sucks. That's about all we can say about it.
One texter says, same schedule, same record next season for Vandy. They get in because Pavia and company put them on the map. Now they have a 5-star recruit in Jared Curtis. However, I feel either choice is fair. If they got in, it was barely in. If they fell out, it should be barely out. If only they had won one more. The loss to Texas, to me, killed them. And honestly, it shows the committee didn't disrespect UT not caring what Vandy did to UT in the last game.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. I don't know if we can make that argument yet as far as if they do the exact same thing next year, then they'll be in, because there are so many factors that play into it. On paper, yes, I agree. But there are like you're seeing this year, there's so many things that play into whether a team gets in or not outside of the Southeastern Conference that I think controls Vanderbilt's destiny. And it's not just for Vanderbilt, it's for every team. So I tend to agree with you. Yes, if they were to do the exact same thing next year, there's a high possibility they would be in, but I don't know if we can say that for sure.
One texter says, Vandy is in a catch-22. They'll never have a win over a quality team because anyone that loses to Vanderbilt isn't a quality team. Now, texter, do you mean because Vanderbilt beats that team and that team falls out of the top 25 like Tennessee did this past week? Or are you saying that Vanderbilt isn't beating top competition? I would argue that Vanderbilt has shown that it can beat top competition. And I know, look, I know that they ranked at the time of the matchup thing. A lot of people like to point to that. I see both sides of it. Vanderbilt went 4-2 against ranked opponents when they faced them on the field. Now, against CFP top 25 teams currently, they're 0-2 because they lost to Alabama. They lost to Texas. They had the win against Tennessee. That no longer counts. So 4-2 against teams ranked at the time of the matchup, but 0-2 against teams in the top 25 of the CFP as of yesterday.
Yeah, and they obviously have shown that they can compete with top talent. They went on the road, didn't beat Alabama, but competed with them. They went on the road and battled back against Texas when they were down and out and very clearly about to lose. They lost by 3. So we don't take moral victories here. I don't do moral victories. If you lost, you lost. But I simply can't find another word to describe the situation for Vanderbilt other than it sucks because it's not in their control.
Let's go to our friend Adam from Portland on our phone line. Adam, thank you for calling. Go ahead.
Hey, Adam, man. Hey, so I think about that Texas game. I think that's what really did it because Arch kind of sucks, and I still think he does. Like, I know it is what it is, man. Like, he's had a few numbers, but the dudes are always wide open when he hits them. So you can't let him, and he really started good against Vandy. Like, that was when he really cranked it up. So I'm like, you can't let this dude be the one to punish you like this. So I don't really care as much about the Alabama game because I feel like Alabama, they actually had a shot in that game. I felt confident, and Diego, I think, just got in his own head. I think if anybody else in the SEC had this record or this stretch from this season, they probably would have been in. But Vandy's still like, just enjoy the underdog story, man. They're always going to be like that. I don't care who they get. They're always going to be an underdog.
Thanks for the call, Adam. One texter brings up the head-to-head with Texas. I love how people keep mentioning the head-to-head with Texas. People seem to forget Texas has 3 losses, one of which was to a horrible Florida team. People acting like Texas should be ahead of Vanderbilt because of head-to-head is only logical if they have the same record, which is something that's being said about Notre Dame and Miami. Notre Dame is 10-2, so is Miami. Notre Dame is 10th, Miami is 12th. Miami beat Notre Dame earlier this season.
Miami should be in over Notre Dame.
So that head-to-head hasn't come into play yet. Both of those teams aren't playing this weekend because Notre Dame's an independent, and Miami somehow is not in the ACC title game. So it depends largely, I guess, Connor, on what happens for the team in between the two of them, BYU. BYU is in the Big 12 title game against Texas Tech. BYU is the ultimate bid stealer. If BYU wins, they're in, and I think Texas Tech is in as well. So Notre Dame, Miami, they are hoping and praying that BYU gets clobbered by Texas Tech, which happened a few weeks ago. But the head-to-head apparently hasn't come into play with Notre Dame and Miami the way it must have with Texas and Vanderbilt.
It also factors in the question that I'm curious to see how the committee responds to is, do you penalize a team for losing in a conference championship?
That will be interesting. And Alabama is in the SEC title game against Georgia. Alabama beat Georgia at Georgia earlier this season. Alabama moving up to 9. A lot of people have said that indicates that Alabama is safe regardless of the result in the SEC title game.
I would agree.
But to your point, what if Alabama gets rolled over? I don't expect that to happen, but let's say Georgia does to Alabama what Georgia did to Texas. What if Georgia wins 35-10 and blows out Alabama in the fourth quarter? Does the committee penalize Alabama for a poor performance? 3rd loss? Remember, no 3-loss team has ever made the college football playoff. And I know it's a expanded playoff, but that is a question, a big question ahead of conference championship weekend.
Yeah, and I mean, you could make the argument for and against. I would argue against it because not every team in this college football playoff field is playing an extra game. Notre Dame would benefit from that because they're not in a conference. Obviously, Miami, if they get in it with an at-large bid, would benefit from that. Ole Miss would benefit from that. Teams like that would benefit. So I would argue, no, you cannot punish a team for making it to the college or their conference championship and losing. But that said, this committee has proven that they are allowed to contradict themselves without any backlash. So I could totally see a world where any team that loses in their conference championship is just completely bumped.
Brian on our text line says, hypothetically, put Notre Dame or Pitt or Oregon with the exact schedule and outcome as Vandy. There is no way they would have a 3-loss team ahead of them. Vandy got screwed, even though they lost head-to-head against Texas. I'm not going to go as far as to say that the Commodores got screwed because they lost 2 games. As the chairman of the CFP, Hunter Yurachek, said, the Alabama game, the score is a bit misleading. That game was a lot closer than the score would indicate. The same could be said in reverse for the Texas game. That game was close at the end, but Texas was blowing out Vanderbilt for most of that game. Credit to Vanderbilt for attempting to come back in the fourth quarter of the game at Texas. But you got to win the games on your schedule. If they would have won one of those 2 games, it wouldn't be an issue. But there are just so many holes you can poke in the CFP committee's logic when it comes to not just Vanderbilt, but other teams as well. And as you said, Connor, a lot of these committee members, they don't really have to answer for it. The chairman speaks for the committee, but the committee members themselves, they don't have to answer for it. So we'll see. 615-737-1025. We will continue to take your reaction to Vanderbilt being ranked 14th in the college football playoff rankings, which means more likely than not, I'm still holding out hope for a miracle, but I am not holding my breath that the Commodores will make the college football playoff. 615-737-1025. A reminder, Clark Lea will join us at the top of the hour at 4. Clark Lea will join us. We'll ask him about this, Jared Curtis, and much more. 615-737-1025. We are presented by Bax Homeworks. Remodeling done right. Get a free estimate at baxhomeworks.com. Tonight, Vanderbilt men's basketball takes on SMU at Memorial Gym. 8:15 p.m. tip-off. Pre-game show starts at 7:45 right here on 102.5 The Game as part of the ACC SEC Challenge, which continues tonight as the Mustangs come to town. SMU, by the way, located in Texas, nowhere near the Atlantic coast. I should just point that out to you. Connor Newt, Adam Vingan here with you. Connor filling in for both Willie and Derek, doing two jobs in one.
I know we should call it CVD now. Actually, that sounds like a sexually transmitted disease. Let's not do that.
Yeah, we'll workshop that. But Willie and Derek are expected to join us at the top of the hour when we have Clark Lea on as well. Let's go to our phone line driven by Wilson County, Hyundai.com, and welcome in David. David, we'll try this again. Thank you for calling. Go ahead.
Thank you. Hey, I've been a Vanderbilt fan since 1970, so I've felt the pain. What I'm mad about is I don't think that Texas should be ahead of Vanderbilt. I don't like that they didn't make the 12, and I think they could beat BYU, but, it is what it is. They lost 2 games. But the thing that I look at is nobody expected Vanderbilt to be this good. And even though they didn't make it, they have had a tremendous year of nobody ever expected. So what I'm going to be more upset of is Pavia should win the Heisman, and Clark Lea or the coach for Indiana should be coach of the year.
Thank you for the call, David. And by the way, it was pointed out on my text line that Clemson last season was a 3-loss team that made it to the college football playoff by virtue of winning the ACC. They beat SMU in the ACC championship game. So I guess this whole time we've been saying no 3-loss team has ever made it. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe we were all wrong.
Yeah.
Is there like a distinction between regular season and postseason, conference championship? I don't know. But Clemson was 10-3 against Texas in the first round of the CFP last year.
Maybe it's no 3-loss team has ever gotten an at-large bid. Because the rules indicate, and this is where this year the whole ACC might get left out comes into play. You have to take the 5 best conference winners based on record.
Mm-hmm.
So last year it was the SEC champion was Georgia, the ACC champion was Clemson, the Big Ten champion was Oregon, the Big 12 champion was Arizona, and then Boise State got in as the Sun Belt champion, right?
Yes.
So, or were they American?
Mountain West.
Mountain West. Thank
Yeah.
you. So those are your 5 best conference winners. I guess that's the only logical argument I can come up with is no 9-3 team has ever gotten in with an at-large bid.
One texter says, should Vanderbilt have beaten Tennessee by only 3 points so Tennessee would have remained ranked? The college football playoff ranking system is flawed. Basketball has net ranking. Baseball has the RPI. College football only looks at what your name is. Wes and Hermitage says, if Texas is ranked ahead due to the head-to-head, then why is Miami ranked below Notre Dame? Oh, yeah, because of the gold helmets. But Vandy has gold helmets, too. No way this could be brand bias, huh? Shake my head. This is a joke. Let's go to Matt on our phone line, driven by Wilson County, Hyundai.com. Matt, thank you for calling. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just curious on your all's opinion of, did too many SEC teams get in to give Vanderbilt a real chance? Because I honestly think they should be ranked and ahead of Notre Dame. I think they would beat Notre Dame. That's just me. Love to hear your all's opinion.
We talked about this yesterday, Matt, because one texter yesterday, as we were discussing this, said, Connor, that the committee must feel that Notre Dame head-to-head would beat Vanderbilt. And that's why Notre Dame is ahead of Vanderbilt. I'm not sure that's something they take into account, but one texter did float that theory to us yesterday.
It's all on paper. I mean, that's kind of where the joke comes from. Oh, it's another hypothetical win for the SEC. So it's all on paper, but I tend to agree with you. Yes, I do think the committee thinks that because, the SEC and a national brand like Notre Dame are going to compete with each other, then Notre Dame must absolutely beat them. So I guess it's all on paper.
One thing I did look up last night, because one texter yesterday asked us if any Heisman Trophy winners have been left out of the college football playoff field since its inception. It's actually happened multiple times, including each of the past 3 years. Now, I know that the playoff has been expanded recently, but Caleb Williams did not make it in 2022. Jaden Daniels did not make it in 2023. And Travis Hunter did not make it in 2024. So if Diego Pavia were to win the Heisman Trophy and Vanderbilt, as we all assume, is left out, it would not be without precedent.
Yeah, I mean, it is worth noting that 2 of those 3 were products of a 4-team playoff instead of a 12-team playoff. But
yes.
Travis Hunter last year with Colorado went 9-3 and then just got absolutely blown out in their bowl game. I can't remember which one it was specifically, but they played BYU and just got absolutely shellacked. So it has been done before. Obviously, a Heisman winner not making the college football playoff. That said, I tend to not think Diego Pavia will win the Heisman. I think the winner will be the winner of the Big 12,
of the Big 10 championship.
Whatever quarterback
game,
wins that one, I think is going to be your Heisman winner.
We went over this yesterday, and Pavia has one hell of a case to win the Heisman Trophy. We've all watched it. He's been outstanding. What he does for the team, not just through the air, but on the ground. And I know that you can't quantify vibes, but Diego Pavia certainly has played a significant role in the resurrection of the Vanderbilt football program. It's been pointed out by many people that although Mendoza has been great for Indiana, Indiana was great last season with Curtis Rourke at quarterback. So not to take anything away from Mendoza, who again has had a fabulous season, Willie is firmly in the camp of Julian Sayin does not deserve to be anywhere near the Heisman Trophy finalist group because of the talent he's playing with. I think that's something that you have to take into account with Pavia. I mean, how many of his pass catchers are going to be NFL players? Eli Stowers? Is that it?
That's probably it. Yeah.
I think the fact that he has the ball in his hands so often, what he does with his legs, of course, what he does through the air, everything he's meant to the Vanderbilt football program, I think you do have to take that into account. Some people just look at the numbers, and that's fine. I like numbers. Some people just like to look at the numbers. I think you also have to take into account the intangible when you are coming up with this. But again, yes, the Heisman Trophy winner has not participated in the college football playoff in each of the past 3 years. Again, it just recently expanded. Here are the Heisman Trophy winners since 2014, and if they've participated. Marcus Mariota, yes. Derrick Henry, yes. Lamar Jackson, no. Baker Mayfield, yes. Kyler Murray, yes. Joe Burrow, yes. Devontae Smith, yes. Bryce Young, yes. Caleb Williams, no. Jaden Daniels, no. Travis Hunter, no. So there's your list. For whatever texter sent us that yesterday, I did the research for you. There's your answer. Chris in Nashville says the CFP doesn't want the Pavia circus. You know what? I think they should welcome it. I know that Diego Pavia and his family are a sore subject for a lot of people. But when it comes to entertainment factor, and this is an argument that Vanderbilt made itself, they sent out this 2-page document, which was really interesting, making its case for the college football playoff. It pointed to Diego Pavia. It talked about the entertainment factor. This is one of the highest scoring offenses in the country. Diego Pavia is the first SEC player ever with 4 consecutive games of at least 400 total yards. Think about all of the great players, all the great quarterbacks who have played in the SEC. None of them have ever put up 400 yards by themselves in 4 consecutive games. That's what Diego Pavia has just done. If you're looking for, look, I know Vanderbilt doesn't bring ratings the way that Notre Dame would, or Miami would, or Alabama would, or Ohio State would, but Diego Pavia, you want to watch him play. And to have him on a national stage, I think he deserves it. So I disagree with that idea. I understand the point. I know Diego Pavia's brother just got arrested at Neyland Stadium, and it's not the first time I believe his brother has been arrested this season. But the whole thing with his mom, which I'm not allowed to talk about his mom. My wife has banned me from talking about Diego Pavia's mom on the air. But I'm mentioning it now for the purpose of this argument. I'm not going to describe her looks or anything like that, which is what I got in trouble for. But I think the CFP should welcome the Pavia circus. They should open the big tent for Diego Pavia and all of the Pavias.
I think you got to look at this from the standpoint of Diego Pavia is the most important player to any team in college football. I'm not going to say he's the best player because I think that's a very subjective conversation. You could make that argument for quite literally any player in any position across college football. But I think in terms of the role they serve, Diego Pavia is the most important player to their team in college football. So I think the committee should welcome that. I think they should say, you want to see how important a guy is to his program, watch Vanderbilt. And I understand the factors that move into this. We've been touching on it all hour, Adam, that there are so many factors that play into why Vanderbilt is not in the college football playoff that it just downright sucks. But I do think I disagree with that text as well. And it's not because, the college football playoff just doesn't want to deal with this family. I think there are just so many other factors that play into this that's the reason they're out.
One texter says, I think Vandy is a victim of brand bias, but Pavia is must-watch TV. CFP will have great viewership, but more eyes are on it with a Pavia in it, regardless if that's for hate or not. The most exciting player in college football is being held out. And again, say what you will about Pavia, his antics, his confidence. I love his confidence. I love his bravado. It's contagious. It makes you want to watch him. And to the texter's point, there may be people who haven't watched a Vanderbilt game all season. If Vanderbilt were to make the college football playoff, they're like, I want to watch Vanderbilt. I want to see what this Pavia guy is all about. I've heard about him striking the Heisman pose, and I've heard about him saying that Vanderbilt's going to run the state of Tennessee. I want to see that. And there are a lot of people would be hate watching. A lot of people would be hate watching, especially east of us in Knoxville. 615-737-1025. We will talk about all of this with Vanderbilt head football coach Clark Lea. He will join us at the top of the hour. Coming up next, we'll talk to him about the college football playoff rankings, the recruitment of Jared Curtis, and much more. That is Clark Lea coming up next. 615-737-1025. This holiday season, 1025 The Game is looking out for the kiddos. We want to donate a bunch of stuffed toys to the Nashville Children's Alliance to be given to kids this holiday, but we can't do it without you. Join us at a Dunkin' location near your neighborhood the week of December 8th through the 12th to drop off a stuffed toy that a child will love. Find the locations now at theGameNashville.com/toy. Also, we would like to thank the Metro Nashville Police Department for all of their help with this promotion as well. D. Mace, Vingan, and Donick, 102.5 The Game. Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, and David Janes here with you. Willie Donick will join us as soon as he can. He's traveling with the Predators, who are in South Florida, taking on the Panthers tomorrow. But let's go to our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, and welcome in Vanderbilt head football coach Clark Lea. And speaking of the Predators, Clark, you were apparently the good luck charm for the Predators last night. You read the starting lineup. They scored 5 goals.
Well, I'd like to take credit for that, but I think that's Bruno and his team and the boys showing up to play. It was fun. That was our first game of the season to get to, and they showed up. It was a fun night. A bunch of young guys contributing, and always good to spend a little time with the team before the game.
Clark, we will get to the college football playoff rankings in just a moment, but I do want to start on the major news involving your program. The signing of Jared Curtis. He's the program's first ever 5-star signee, decommitting from Georgia and joining your program. Now that this is official, I would love for you to take us behind the scenes on how you were able to land Jared Curtis. I know Diego Pavia played a hand in it. I guess you could say Nate Bargatze played a hand in it as well. He made a personal pitch on College Game Day a few weeks ago. But now that Jared Curtis, is a part of your program, how were you able to pull this off?
Well, I honestly, to say that anyone impacted this beyond Jared and what his vision for his future was, I think is to play a little bit in the narrative. Obviously, Diego is set a course of what's possible at that position in our program, and I think he's also proven the system to be really effective for a talented quarterback. So I think those are really positive things. But Jared is a guy that thinks for himself. He's a guy that has strength of personality that way. He believes in himself. He's got the right attitude for our program. He's got an underdog's mentality. He's a chip on the shoulder guy, and he quietly reached out about a month ago and wanted to spend time around us, and came over on an afternoon where we had a chance to spend some time, and was with our offensive staff. And I honestly, just over that month, just kept paying attention, kind of kept showing up quietly, spending time with our players and observing our program and watching on Saturdays. And I think he was inspired by what he saw. I think he sees himself as a fit for us, and he's got a deep belief in what his potential is. And like I said, he's got strength of personality. He's going to make a decision independent of what anyone else thinks. Those are all things that will lead someone to Vanderbilt football, because that's who we are. And I'm really, I'm excited. I mean, I'm excited that he felt that connected to what we're building. I'm excited that he sees a vision for himself and how he can play a role in taking us to another level. And I'm anxious to get to work with him and find out where he is, so we can help progress him, so that he can help us as quickly as he's able. But certainly a great statement about our program, the momentum we've built, the success we've grown into, and also a statement about where we want this thing to go.
Clark, I know that you have been neck deep in materials, learning about what the College Football Playoff Committee looks for in a playoff team. I know that you've been campaigning. Diego Pavia has been campaigning. I particularly like the 2-page document with all of the numbers on it. That was right up my alley in terms of making the Commodores' case for inclusion in the college football playoff. But once again, the committee has your program ranked 14th. I believe this is the third consecutive week that you're at 14th, despite the big win at Tennessee. So let me ask you this. What have you learned about the College Football Playoff Committee's priorities based on how it has rated your program over the past few weeks?
I think one of my greatest frustrations is I don't know. I can't understand the process. I can't understand what they are processing. And so what I can't understand, I can't get behind. I could accept being on the outside looking in if I knew exactly what the standards were, but it just seems so subjective, and it just seems so conditional. And it's frustrating, because I've got a team that deserves an opportunity to fight for a national championship. And part of this, has to do more with what our system for selection is. So there's a part of this that I think we need to take a real step back here and rethink, competitively how we select the teams into the tournament. And so that's independent of criticism of the committee. But the other side of this is feeling like this is way too human driven. It's way too emotional. And I don't trust it. And that's a frustrating feeling for a coach that has a team that, has fought for the right to play for a national championship. And ultimately, all the dust will settle on Sunday, and we'll figure out where we finish, and whatever is put in front of us, we're going to attack. But the experience of not really understanding what is motivating these moves and feeling like the goalposts are constantly moving, that's been really frustrating, and I think something we really need to give some attention to this offseason.
One of the comments, to your point, Clark, one of the comments the CFP chair made when asked about Vanderbilt yesterday is, well, they don't have any signature wins. But part of the reason why is you went to Tennessee, who was ranked in the CFP poll last week. You won by 3 scores, and now they're out of the CFP rankings, and it seems like you're being penalized for that. Do you feel that way?
Of course I do. Not only that, I think Tennessee's penalized for the fact that they lost to Vanderbilt. And this has to do with, I believe, some embedded bias, even in the way the computers are working through our lines for the games. And we were an underdog in that game by 2.5 points. We won by 21. So what does that tell you about what the computer system that's driving those lines thinks about our program? We're being undervalued in that process. And I'm not going to pretend to know all that goes into that, because, I'm learning about a lot right now, but obviously there's a flaw there. There's something off, that we would be underdogs by 2.5 points, that we'd win by 21. And so what I think happens in that moment is, well, it must be Tennessee's problem. That's a really good Tennessee team. And if you look back when Oklahoma won by 6 points in Knoxville, they moved up something like 7 slots in the AP poll. When we won by 21 points in the same stadium against the same team, we're downgraded by a slot in the AP poll. It just doesn't make any sense to me. And no one can explain that to me in a way that makes sense. The other part of this too is when you look at our schedule, at the time we played the teams we played, we had 4 teams that we competed against that were ranked in the top 15. And it just so happened that after losing to us, they plummet. Well, again, we don't control that. But at the time that we played those teams, they were perceived to be top 15 teams. And so it just seems to be kind of almost convenient to count us out because of those factors that we don't control, rather than to say, hey, this is a team that's earned the right to be in. And I think if it were blind resumes, I don't think there'd be any question. We would be in the tournament and we'd be rolling.
We're talking with Vanderbilt's head football coach, Clark Lea, coming off of a 45-24 victory over the Volunteers. Now, Coach, I'm sure there's nothing that anyone can say to you or your team to sort of, take away the frustration you have, because if you look at
D-Mace, that's not necessarily true. You could tell me we're in, and I'd be happy.
Oh yeah, other than saying you're in, I think
right.
exactly. Right. I don't think there's anything, because you guys had a tremendous season, and you did exactly what you were supposed to do, but you're getting penalized for it. And I remember, many years before the playoff even got this big, when it was just 2 or 4 teams and the metrics was used, and people said, well, no, don't use the computer, let's use humans, and let's form this committee. Should we go back to using more of the computer? Because it seems like now that the field is bigger, maybe using the computer is a little bit better than sort of each and every week the committee members coming in, and it may be more biased than anything.
Well, I'm going to answer this in a biased way. I saw a graphic of what the BCS, computer would have projected, and we were, I think we were 12th or 11th or something like that. So I'm all for the computers now. No, you bring up a good point, and truthfully, I mean, look, I'm frustrated. What I'm living through right now is an imperfect process that's evolving in real time. That's all. What we are doing is changing our sport as we live through it, and there's always going to be inconveniences that way. But right now, my responsibility is to fight for a team that I believe in, and if anything, this experience has brought clarity to me as to where those flaws are, and I'm really anxious to help support plans to reform and to create something that ultimately gets the from a competitive standpoint, the best 12 or the best 16 teams in a tournament to play against one another, so we can determine a national champion. And it makes sense. Let's stop trying to manufacture balance. Let's stop trying to manufacture fairness. Let's stop trying to manufacture Cinderella stories. And let's let the teams that played the hardest schedule, that won the most games, have an opportunity to prove their mettle in the tournament. That's the goal right now. It feels like we're not quite hitting the mark, and we need to put a lot of attention to this in the offseason.
Now, should they really take a close look at this, because the landscape of college football has changed and we all know it. But it seems like a lot of people are still operating from the old way it used to be. Now that these young men and women are able to transfer, now that they're getting paid, the landscape across college has changed. Why should they look more at that in the off season than probably more so of the brand bias?
Well, I think that's one end of it, right? It's the brands don't necessarily have the best teams, and so sometimes the brands have the most fans, and unfortunately, I think that is a motivator sometimes in these conversations. But at the end of the day, there's room for a disruptor in this, and that's what we are. We're an aggressive disruptor that is young, hungry, and agile, and we're taking ground every day. On the other end of that too, I think what you're seeing is less likely a chance that there's a contender that rises from a non Power Four conference, and that's not. Look, I want to stop short of saying that there never could be, but I think it's there's been kind of just an overall elevation of the talent in the country to a few conferences, most specifically the SEC and the Big Ten. And so there needs to be, in a fair way, a representation of that actually distributes the slots in this playoff in a manner that represents what the top teams in the country are. And if I get frustrated by anything right now, it's the fact that, we could take a ACC champion into this tournament that has, multiple losses that doesn't deserve the right to be in it. And, look, if they get the chance, then, good for them. But, at the end of the day, I don't think that's right. The same thing with, a group of five champion that hasn't proven it against the best teams in the toughest schedules. I just don't think it makes any sense anymore. And I think we need to reevaluate that and not eliminate the possibility of one of those teams playing their way into the top 16 or the top 12. But let's stop with this business of creating automatic spots for teams that haven't earned the right to be there.
Now, I know the season is not done for you guys. You still got football left, but the regular season is done. What specifically does this team means to the program moving forward? Because you talked about, and we all know, and it's been a topic of discussion the last 2 days, Jared Curtis flipping from Georgia to Vanderbilt because he envisions himself in this offense, in this program, helping to continue to uplift this program. And then you have a guy in Diego Pavia, who's, in my opinion, should win the Heisman, but he will be hopefully in New York. When you look at all this, what did this specific team mean to the program moving forward?
Oh, it's been, it's hard to quantify. I think this is a legacy team. I think that every line that we trace back from a perch of sustained success and championship level performance, every line will point back to this team and really to last year's team too. I think there's been just so much ground covered, so much progress made, and it's a testament to this group of players and this staff kind of binding together to do something that no one thought was possible except for those from within. And so I want this team honored in the right way. I want to send this team off in the right way. I'm excited about award season for this team. I think that we should be in the near future bringing home a Heisman Trophy for our building. I just got to figure out where it goes because I don't have a Heisman Trophy slot. But I'll tell you, in the new building we're building, I'm going to make sure the trophy case is big enough to handle all this type of success and more. But this team has done so much to reset the standards and to just really change perception. And it's our job to honor their efforts by taking this progress and pulling it forward into next season.
We're talking to Clark Lea, Vanderbilt head football coach here on 102.5 The Game. Clark, I just arrived in the team hotel down here in South Florida, and Andrew Burnett, as we were getting our hotel keys, said, "Can you be here tomorrow night at 6:30 because you're 1-0 announcing the starting lineup to the guys in the locker room?" So what's your schedule looking like?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm making that one. I'll definitely. Look, you said y'all are in South Florida, is that right?
Yeah, we're in Sunrise right now. Well, Fort Lauderdale right now.
It's about 30 degrees outside here, so I may actually be able to fit
it's
that
tempting,
in.
Isn't it?
Yeah, and Willie, I'm glad you made the call because I wanted to talk about this ratings boost you guys experienced last night when all of a sudden I got on the TV.
Yes. Well, and Clark, I do want to thank you because, you guys, the news was fresh, right? People were texting me. We were getting ready to go on the air. And, of course, the guys on the show were texting me. Other people are going, dang, look at their 14th, et cetera. So you're absorbing that in real time. And now you're going in and announcing the starting five. For those that don't know, Clark went into the Predators locker room and, they on occasion will bring a special guest in to announce to the team who's starting on the ice. And Clark was nice enough to do that. I don't know, what was it, Clark, 30 minutes, 15 minutes after you found out?
Yeah, it's funny, Willie. I was pulling into the loading dock down there when Jared called me. So and we had it wasn't a surprise, but I actually took the call as I was pulling in, which was really cool, and it gave a little energy boost to me as I was watching the game.
Well, that's great. And so you do that, then you did the interview with us, so we certainly appreciate it. And the Predators went on to win. I want to ask you just a couple more things about this whole process here. You guys did what you really had to do because of what had happened in the weeks leading up. I think you knew that you needed the committee to look at you through a different prism, especially after finishing off with the big win against Tennessee. And you put out some really hard-worked information, or I don't know what the right word is. You really scrutinized with a lot of layers to present information that may not have been easy to see before. Do you think the committee really looked through that and gave it what it deserved, right? As a member of a committee trying to get all the information possible. Did you get that feeling that they really looked at it close?
No, I mean, I don't, and I want to be careful because I want to be respectful of people that are trying to do their jobs, and it's a hard job. I don't think there's a world where you're considering all the things that make this team what it is. And look, they moved Utah behind us, then moved Texas in front of us. You got a three loss team now ahead of us in the standings because head-to-head matchups matter in that situation, but not when it comes down to Notre Dame and Miami. There's so much inconsistency in the way that they're approaching this process, and that's what's really frustrating to me. And it's human, right? And I think that's what happens when you're talking about human nature and subjectivity. It's going to be imperfect, but it's negatively impacting a team that I care a lot about, a team that I believe has earned the right to be in it. And I can't imagine that they're taking this new information in and considering it because it did nothing to strengthen our position in the tournament.
This is a what if question that I don't know if we'll ever find out the answer to because this is how they do it. It's for TV. But I'm curious how the process would be different if the committee today, for the first time, met and said for the next 3 days, now we know everybody's played 12 games. Nobody's talked to anybody, but we've done our own research. We'll see what happens with the championship games, but let's now, for the first time, rank teams. I wonder how it would change as opposed to the week-to-week climb or whatever you call this. Do you think it would be different?
I think that's an excellent idea, Willie, and I think you just may have solved everything in that in that thought. And
who do I need to call?
I mean, what they've done is they've created TV time that obviously matters to invested parties, but it also has created this the moving goalpost thing that I referenced earlier, where it seems like every week there's a new set of reasons or standards or expectations. And I think locking the door for 3 days and hashing through it and using the numbers and getting it right, I think that is a way cleaner process than playing this out over the course of however many weeks, 6 weeks or whatever it is, 4 weeks, which again is sloppy and because those polls are ever changing, then the playoff picture is ever changing. One thing I referenced earlier too was this idea that after beating Tennessee, Oklahoma improved in the polls by 7 spots, and then after they won by 6 points, we beat Tennessee by 21 points, and we actually fell in the AP poll. And I think what you're seeing is those polls are taking form around the playoff picture. So, it all kind of works to influence the other entities. I think if you just let those things breathe on their own and let those form around the strength of performance of each team, I think then you're going to have a clearer picture of where the best teams in the country exist. And I think that gives our team the best chance. The other thing I'd like to see them do is work blind resumes into it, because that also is a way to ensure that you're eliminating human bias as best you can. I mean, at the end of the day, we have former coaches, we have ADs of current programs that are involved in this, and so it's hard. Just like I think the perfect solution, Willie, is probably just let me select all the teams. Then I won't have any complaints. But
right,
we're human. We have bias. I think how do we best eliminate that? Your idea of punting all the selection into kind of 3 days postseason is a great idea. I think making it blind and just looking at the resumes for what they are give us the best chance to get the 12 best teams in.
Last thing, Clark, just for perspective, right? Everybody's a little down today. They'll get back up and appreciate what you guys have done. But I want to take you back 2 years, right? And I can remember being at a practice with you before that season started. But your satisfaction level, the answer is obvious. But could you have envisioned going from where you were 2 years ago at the end of the season to where you are now?
Willie, was that the practice where you were questioning every play call and you were saying, why is he
No,
calling that play?
there were a lot of cranes and there was a lot of construction. It took me a while to get to the field. But so much has changed in those 2 years, I guess is what I'm getting at. It's just amazing to see what has happened.
No, it is. I'm joking. I was trying to get you to go into Coach Willie mode.
No, I wasn't trying to get you to run the eye bone or anything like that.
Right.
I don't think I had anything that radical.
Hey, Clark, just so you know, I have banned Coach Willie from the program. After the end of the regular season, he has been banned from the program.
Yeah, that's okay. Well, that's good to know. You guys, I'm on the team, so I need to know these things. No, I think, Willie, I first of all, I appreciate the question. I'm very proud of the pivot we made after that 23 season. I look back on that as like obviously a critical inflection point in our program, and yet there was some real clarity around kind of the course we needed ahead, and the fact that we had deviated a little bit, or maybe we hadn't adjusted and adapted fast enough. But there was never a point where I didn't feel like this was where we were headed. There was never a point where I put limitations on what I thought this could become. But I will tell you, man, I am very happy to be where we are, and I'm grateful for it, because once you've lived through the hard parts of this, you kind of learn how to celebrate the fun parts of it. And that's, today, what a celebration today was. Not only did we have a class of players that we believed in already committed, but the fact that we were able to turn 2 local players committed to SEC rivals into Commodores. I mean, what an amazing statement about where we're headed. And there's a lot of important work out of us, but again, that's the fun part. We're going to get a chance to pull this program into sustainability and then take it further. I'm not going to place limitations on what that looks like either. We're heading that way. I know it's going to be hard. I know they're going to be challenged along the way, but I'm super excited about the climb ahead, and I'm grateful to be able to be on this journey.
Vanderbilt head football coach Clark Lea has been our guest on D. Mace, Vangen, and Donick. He joins us every week during college football season. Clark, as always, a pleasure. Thank you so much for your time. We'll catch up soon.
Thanks, guys. Good to be with you.
615-737-1025. We will react to what Clark had to say. You can as well at 615-737-1025. Let's try to solve all the world's problems and figure out how the CFP selection process can be rectified. based on what we heard from Clark Lea. We'll do that next. 615-737-1025. We are broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. D-Mace, Finnegan and Donick, 102.5 The Game. Gang's all here. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan. We are presented by Bax Homeworks, which transforms kitchens, bathrooms, and living spaces into places you can't wait to come home to. Get a free estimate now at baxhomeworks.com. Always a pleasure to catch up with Vanderbilt head football coach Clark Lea. And you heard Clark there, passionate about his team, of course, and he feels that Vanderbilt is getting a raw deal. And I can't say I disagree. And you guys weren't here for this, so I want to say it again so that the two of you hear it, okay? The fact that 7-5 Duke is technically alive and 10-2 Vanderbilt isn't is dumb. And that's coming from me, the guy with the Durham-inspired tattoo on his leg. I just want the two of you to hear that because you weren't here when I said it earlier. The fact that Duke at 7-5 and somehow in the ACC title game is still alive and Vanderbilt isn't just makes zero sense to me. None.
And that's what, that's what Clark is frustrated about. And I think that's what a lot of Vanderbilt fans, or hell, maybe all of them, are frustrated about is this, well, it works for one team, but it doesn't work for Vandy. If you've watched Vandy play, they are a damn good football team. And you look at their losses, whether it be in Texas or Alabama, it's not like they lost to a team outside the top 25. They lost to two teams that are considered powerhouses. Now, Texas season didn't end up the way they thought it would end up, but yet still, they still had an opportunity, or maybe still, I don't know, of making the college football playoff. They still were in the talks, even after two losses. They still were in the talks of making the college football playoffs last week. And Vandy with two losses was completely out of it. And nobody wanted it. It almost would have taken, like Mitch said yesterday, aliens coming down and abducting two teams and taking them away, and then Vandy slides. And then I think they would be sort of apprehensive of that, saying, hey, the aliens may bring them back, so don't worry about it. They may bring them back before the title game, so don't worry about it. But Vandy has done everything, and I get it. They have two losses, but it's not like their two losses are to teams outside the top 25. They have two losses against two very good teams. I'm not sure why it's costing them this much and it doesn't cost another team the same amount.
Willie, the CFP committee chairman, Hunter Yurachek, tied himself in knots last night, attempting to explain the committee's decisions, not just on Vanderbilt, but on other teams. But a couple of things Yurachek said about Vanderbilt, and I referenced one with Clark Lea. He was asked, Yurachek that is, was asked why Vanderbilt at 10-2 is ranked so far below other 10-2 teams and even below a 9-3 Texas team, despite the fact that Texas beat Vanderbilt, but I understand. And Hunter Yurachek said, when you look at their schedule, now that Tennessee is no longer ranked, they just don't have a signature win. That's a quote. Why is Tennessee out of the rankings? Because Vanderbilt went to Neyland Stadium and beat their asses. That's why they don't have a signature win anymore. And I don't think that Vanderbilt should be penalized for that. The other thing as well, Rexroad asked this question because earlier, Yurachek gave Alabama credit for going on the road and beating Auburn. But why wasn't he giving Vanderbilt credit for going on the road in a rivalry game and beating Tennessee? And Vanderbilt's win against Tennessee was bigger than Alabama's win against Auburn. And he talked about other things happening around Vanderbilt, like Texas beating Texas A&M. He mentioned Miami getting a win at Pittsburgh. Tennessee was ranked higher than Pittsburgh in the CFP poll last week. It makes zero sense to me. None.
Look, that quote you just read. Look, I'm just glad I didn't see it live. I would have started throwing stuff if I saw it.
Well, that wasn't on TV. That was on the conference call afterwards.
That quote you just read, which Joe put in his article for The Athletic, that is the dumbest thing that I have ever heard from a chair. And I've heard chairs get in tough spots, right? It's a tough spot. You get asked tough questions. No matter what you do, you're going to leave a couple of teams out that feel like they are going to be screwed. They don't want to hear what you have to say no matter what. But that logic makes zero sense. And Hunter Yurachek, you know where he got his start? Vanderbilt. He was an assistant athletic director at Vanderbilt before getting to where he is now. Does he think people at Vanderbilt aren't going to think that's the dumbest thing that's ever been said by a committee chair?
They don't care, Willie.
Now that Tennessee is no longer ranked, they just don't have a signature win. So that were they supposed to lose that game so Tennessee could be higher ranked, so they could play them again, so that they could beat them and Tennessee might still be in the rankings? It makes zero sense. We made this point yesterday. Look at the teams that Tennessee lost to. They lost 4 games, all to teams that are playoff caliber teams. LSU lost 5 games, all of them to playoff caliber teams. Missouri lost 4 games, all to playoff caliber teams. There's no logic when you say there's no signature wins, and that doesn't even take into account when they beat them, when they were ranked, when they were still in the hunt, those teams. So it is convenient. They were looking for reasons to move Vanderbilt off of the chart so they didn't have to worry about it. So they were justifying it, and while they did that, they put their foot in their mouths, they contradict themselves, and they sound like idiots. So Hunter Yurachek, that is the dumbest thing I've ever seen in print. Now that Tennessee is no longer ranked, they just don't have a signature win. So that game, I mean, Hunter Yurachek was at Vanderbilt. He knows the rivalry and how big it is when Vanderbilt plays Tennessee at Tennessee and whips them. And that's not a signature win, my butt.
That's the most fired up I've seen Willie in a long time. 615-737.
I'm glad I'm in South Florida. It's very nice weather here. I can calm back down now. Thank you.
Yes.
I'm outside on the deck.
Just during the break, just look outside, look at the ocean, hear the crashing waves, center yourself.
Woosah.
615-737-1025. We will take your reaction coming up next. A fired up Willie Donick. I love it. 615-737-1025. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025 The Game.
Okay, deep breaths, deep breaths. I'm okay now. The best financial move you can make this time of year is lowering your mortgage rate to 4.99% fixed APR, the lowest rate in years. You can get up to $500,000 out of your home equity in the process. So call Loan Pronto. These are all things you need to take a look at because Loan Pronto has the rapid equity loan, and you have the opportunity with the rates as low as they've been to make a good financial move for 2026. You can get cash out, pay off those high interest credit cards, or maybe a car loan, pay a tuition bill, whatever you might need the cash for. And you can skip up to 2 house payments. One homeowner got $300,000 approved in under 24 hours, wiped out their credit cards, 2 car loans, and saved $2,100 per month. Act now, loanpronto.com, or call 615-499-5780. Just make the call, see how much cash you can get. 615-499-5780. or loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, APR for well-qualified buyers. Visit NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
D. Mace, Vingan, and Donick, 102.5 The Game. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan here with you. Jonathan Hutton will join us at the top of the hour. Silly Underdog Picks Conference Championship Edition coming up at 5:20. I'll let you know shortly what the prize is if you represent the people in Silly Underdog Picks. One texter says, Coach Willie may be banned, but I'm loving Mama Bear Willie.
It's Papa Bear.
We'll go with Papa Bear Willie.
Yeah,
but
we go Papa Bear.
either way, I love when Willie gets fired up. Let's go to Michael on our phone line, driven by WilsonCounty100.com. Michael, thank you for calling. Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for taking my call. I wanted to bring up a couple other points, and you guys may have pointed out some of these already. I just jumped in the car, and Willie had me fired up, so I wanted to jump on and keep the fire going.
That's the spirit.
You know, Vanderbilt had a couple of other wins in the top 10 or 11 that are disregarded now as not being a top SRO win, with Missouri, South Carolina, and LSU were all ranked in the top, 15 at the time of their wins. And I don't know why those get disregarded with the committee with the beating of those teams. It seems like you would get the credit or the weighing of those at the time of victory as well.
Thank you for the call, Michael. And to Michael's point, if you're looking at the matchups at the time they were played, Vanderbilt is 4-2 against ranked opponents. But if you're taking the Hunter Yurachek method, the Commodores are 0-2 against current CFP top 25 teams now that Tennessee has fallen out. And why has Tennessee fallen out? We know why.
But it's convenient. Who ranks the teams? It's a rigged system, right? Oh, we can make Vanderbilt 0-2 if we just put Tennessee out of the rankings. Oh, problem solved, right? It should be the committee's choice. It's one thing if an AP voter is sitting there filling out his top 25 and says, oh, Vanderbilt, no wins against ranked opponents. Yeah, let's put them at 14. That's one thing. But this committee is supposed to know everything. They're supposed to be charged with every team who's in contention, the ebb and flow of their season. Who did you beat? What was at stake at the time? Where was the game? They need to know all of that. So Hunter Yurachek is basically trying to float that by everybody, that quote, no signature win, as if he just showed up that day and looked at a set of numbers. Oh, Vanderbilt 0-2 versus top 25. Oh, no signature wins. Let's move them out. Problem solved. But that's the committee chair right there. He's supposed to know all of what the caller just pointed out, that when Vanderbilt beat these teams, everything was on the line for both Vanderbilt and for LSU, for both Vanderbilt and for Missouri, that all four of those wins, two of them at home, two of them on the road. In Hunter Yurachek's quote right there, he has disregarded all four of those wins as if they were just nothing. Nothing.
Well, they know there's something. They're just not counting them for them. That's what it is. I mean,
right?
They're telling you.
Makes their job easy.
Exactly. We know exactly what their schedule was. We know exactly who they played. We just don't care. Plain and simple. I don't know how many times they got to say it without saying it. They do not care about Vanderbilt and their season this year. If they have the same season next year, I think then that's when it will matter.
Again, that quote from Hunter Yurachek, the CFP committee chair.
The dumbest quote ever by a committee chair in the college basketball, college baseball, women's basketball. I have watched the committee chair answer a lot of questions. I've seen them be put in tough spots. This is the dumbest quote I have ever seen. Go ahead, Adam.
Quote, the committee has a great deal of respect for Vanderbilt and what they have achieved. An amazing season, a 10-win season. When you look at their schedule, now that Tennessee is no longer ranked, they just don't have a signature win. They've got wins against LSU, Missouri, and Tennessee. Missouri and Tennessee were previously ranked in our poll. They are no longer ranked in our poll. He then later goes on to say, I think it's just lacking that signature win or two that teams like a Texas and a Miami, Utah, teams above them have.
So the logic of that is you are penalized for knocking a team out of the top 25. So a win that knocks a team out of the top 25 takes away a signature win.
Well,
because it knocked them out of the top 25.
Only in Vanderbilt's case.
Only in Vanderbilt's case.
Only in Vanderbilt's case, not in everybody else's case.
So do we need to eliminate automatic bids? in this tournament, which means we
Well,
probably
that-
eliminate
that
conference
should be- that
championship.
should
I
be
don't think you
discussed.
should.
That should be
I don't think
discussed.
you should. No, I think there is
The
something.
best 12 at large.
No, there is something, again, because that's like, winning the AFC South, or there's something to winning the AFC South. It's you won, so there's an automatic bid to the playoffs when you win the AFC South or the AFC North or the NFC South. So I don't think they should take that away. That there's other things that they may have to do. Go back to the computer system, because now you're not relying on biases. You're just relying on a computer ranking everybody based upon, the teams they played, strength of schedule, and everything else. But because that method didn't seem to work when there was 2 or 4 teams, now they seem like they completely thrown it out, and they're using more so of these things that I'm not saying they're making them up, but they're just changing them each and every week. It's not like they're making things up. They're not. What they're doing is they're just using them for some teams, and they're using them, and they're not using them for others. That's all they're doing.
Yeah, it is all a bait and switch. And again, the week-to-week thing. This is my biggest thing. I asked this to Clark Lea, if you missed it at the top of the hour. I think that the committee should only meet this week. They shouldn't have this week-to-week showcase of whatever that means nothing. But what it does is it sets them behind the 8 ball. It makes it harder for teams to move their way in if it's not obvious. And they would have been embarrassed by all of a sudden reading Vanderbilt's information. So, you know what? We've probably undersold these guys. And yeah, that's a good win against Tennessee. Let's move them up. If they would have done that, they probably would have faced even more questions. So they took the easy road and just said, and they made up a bunch of baloney that they don't have a signature win. Hunter Yurachek was at Vanderbilt. He knows what it's like, how tough it is to win at Tennessee. It's not a signature win. That's an insult to Tennessee. 100,000 fans against a Tennessee team that was ranked and had only lost to other playoff caliber teams. That's absolutely no logic to just blow that off and say no signature wins. They beat LSU. They were number 10. LSU is a powerhouse program. That's not a signature win? Come on. Come up with something better at least.
What's his name again, Willie?
Hunter Yurachek.
By the way, Willie, if it makes you feel better, Alan from Nashville says a lot of Razorbacks fans want Yurachek out as Arkansas AD. So Alan says, who's from Little Rock, Alan says that Razorbacks fans don't even like Hunter Yurachek. So that's something to take into consideration. Mike on our text line says, if it is a 12-team playoff, the top 12 ranked teams in the final poll are in. No more patting a small school on the head saying you belong. I was glad to hear Clark say that. And look, I love that aspect of the men's basketball tournament. There are 68 teams in the men's basketball tournament. So you need to find the so-called little guys in the men's basketball tournament. So many great stories. I don't think you need that in the college football playoff, because what are the chances? I don't know what group of 5 team is going to make it. JMU, North Texas, Tulane. I don't know. Do you think any of those teams has a chance against whichever team is the 5th ranked team in the playoff? No. Like, there are at least upsets in college basketball. So I know, Willie, you've got a soft spot for the little guy too.
I do.
I don't think we need the little guys in the college football playoff. I don't think we need them.
Again, it works in basketball. It's hard to consistently work in football.
By the way, the conference champ number 5, as it's listed, the 12th seed at the moment, would be facing Oregon. Do you think Tulane or JMU has a snowball's chance in hell of going to Oregon and winning? No. So leave them out.
Unlikely, but would you have said that when, who was it that beat Duke a few years ago? Was it Lehigh?
Why are you doing this to me? Why are we talking about this?
You have to.
But that's the fun of it. That's the fun of it.
But
you give them a chance. You give them a chance, and you might have it right. So I have been the guy over the years. I don't want to be a hypocrite about it. I do think you want everybody who plays in that division, if they are truly in that division, to have a chance to compete for the national championship. So I'm okay with that. And I think probably in a few more years, you're going to weed those teams out, and it's going to be that division is going to be divided up.
But I just wonder,
into two parts.
how many, like, because look, it's different, of course, different sports, but how many 16 over 1, 15 over 2 type of upsets we see in college basketball. And we have seen those.
Uh-huh.
I wonder how many of those we've seen in college football, like in the regular season. Like if you were not many. So the chances for an upset are incredibly slim. So I'm okay with sending off the group of 5 to do its own thing. I'm fine with that. If it means that teams that are deserving, again, like I said, because I'm putting my bias aside for this moment. The fact that Duke is still technically alive in this at 7-5. Duke lost to UConn in football, okay? Duke should not be technically alive and Vanderbilt out. It shouldn't happen, and that's me.
Hey, one of the nerds got to get in. I mean, come on, Duke, let him in.
Oh, man. Let's quickly go to Trey on our phone line. Trey, thank you for calling. Go ahead.
Hey, guys. How y'all doing today?
Good.
Hey, Trey.
Hey, I just want to say I feel bad for Coach Lee and his program. I've been following this the first year. I followed him a little bit last year, but this year is the first year that I think it's a scam. I think that they didn't believe in Vanderbilt. And then when Vanderbilt started winning, it's like, oh, God, Vanderbilt's winning. What are we going to do? Then when they started knocking them teams down, they had to drop them in the polls to keep them out of the playoffs. I believe it's a scam. With Mr. Willie, you right. It's biased. They need to go back to the computer. And I just feel bad for Coach Lee because they're basically stopping Vanderbilt history, because when Vanderbilt started making history with this team, everybody knew it. And now they're just going to stop it all of a sudden. That's bad. And I love you guys. And y'all have a good night.
Thanks, Trey. Quickly.
I mean, listen, it's unfortunate. I don't feel bad for Clark Lea in the season. I think they had a tremendous season, and there's nothing to hang your head. I mean, there's nothing to hang your head down on based upon that, because they had a season, and Clark said they had a season that they believe will catapult this program moving forward. So I don't feel bad for Clark Lea from that standpoint, because I think, yeah, you may not have won the battle, because the battle was this year, but you're setting your team up for the war. And I think ultimately that's what you got to understand. But it is disappointing to know that, you did something that not many people thought you were going to do outside of the people in your locker room. And you beat teams when you needed to beat them. Did you lose 2 games? Yes, you did. But those were very good teams. One of them is in the college football playoffs. But the season as a whole, I mean, this was tremendous for the program moving forward, but I am disappointed that the way it's looking, they will not get a spot in the college football playoffs.
615-737-1025. Jonathan Hutton from Hot Mike with Hutton Withrow will join us coming up next. We'll ask Jonathan Hutton how he feels about Hunter Yurachek, because we know how Willie does. So we'll talk about all of this with Jonathan Hutton coming up next. 615-737-1025. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025 The Game. D. Mace, Vingan, and Donick, 1025. The Game. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, and David Janes here with you. Jonathan Hutton will join us momentarily. And when he does, he will be brought to you by a Moment's Peace Salon and Day Spa in Cool Springs. Also be listening in the next segment. Silly Underdog Picks is coming up at 5:20, 5:25. You can represent the people. And if you do, and you win, you will win a pair of tickets to see Matt Rife at Bridgestone Arena next October 24th, 2026. So you've got plenty of time to plan. But if you are the people's representative and you win, you will win a pair of tickets to see Matt Rife at Bridgestone Arena on Saturday, October 24th, 2026. So be listening for the cue to call. As we await Hutton, we'll take some of your reaction. 615-737-1025. One texter says, Vandy is the reason LSU fired its coach. Come on. That's got to be a signature win to force a school to fire its coach.
You would think, huh? But when it comes to Vandy, it doesn't count in their favor. Listen, this is what we know how the committee is looking at Vandy now. They were great wins, I believe, really good wins throughout the season. They were wins that many people didn't think that they would get during the season, but they were able to, go out and play really good football this season. And again, their two losses, a 1 point or a 3 point loss to Texas, and that Alabama score wasn't indicative of how that game actually went.
It was a front door cover by
exactly.
Alabama.
So Vandy did what they needed to do to put themselves in a position to really be considered, like truly. I don't think they were really considered as a college football participant, college football playoff participant. I don't think they were really. They probably, Vandy, but nah, we don't think they're gonna make it.
Let's bring in Jonathan Hutton. Hello, Hutton. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful, guys. How are you?
Good. Hutton, I know that we have you on to ask you questions, but I need you to ask Willie a question.
Okay.
Will you ask Willie how he feels about Hunter Yurachek?
This is well-covered territory, Hutton. I've already said my piece.
I have said mine as well, guys. You know I've been saying that I don't think the committee wants to get 6 SEC teams in.
But let me go ahead. Sorry.
Let me just add this in real quick. The fact that they're not wanting to show SEC bias proves there is one. It proves there is one, guys. That they don't want 6 SEC teams in. They won't say it, but that's exactly what they're not trying to show. They're trying to not show one because 6 deserve to get in, and by doing so, they're screwing one of the teams that's clearly deserving of being one of the at-large teams.
The quote from Hunter Yurachek that set off Willie Donick, which is an incredibly hard thing to do, by the way. So kudos to Hunter Yurachek.
I would have gotten teed up on the basketball court.
Wow.
Okay. And that happened a couple times in high school and a couple times in men's leagues. I think Chad Withrow and I were on the team. He might have seen me get teed up one time. He was definitely there when I tore my ACL when I was 40. But that I rarely blow my stack like that. But this quote you're about to hear, Hud, this set me off.
So Hunter Yurachek held a conference call after the latest reveal, and he was asked by Aria Gerson of the Tennessean why Vanderbilt at 10-2 in the SEC is ranked so far below other 10-2 SEC teams, as well as a 9-3 Texas team. Here's the quote that set Willie off. Quote, "The committee has a great deal of respect for Vanderbilt and what they have achieved. An amazing season, a 10-win season. When you look at their schedule, now that Tennessee is no longer ranked, they just don't have a signature win," end quote.
Yeah.
I can't make sense of that, Hutton. I really can't.
Guys, the Tennessee Volunteers, not to burst anyone else's bubble here, the Tennessee Volunteers, they have 3 of their 8 wins came against came against Group of 5 or less. They didn't beat a team that's bowl eligible all year, but yet this is the same committee. And it's the same AP voters that had Tennessee ranked in the top 25 up until this week. Every single week. So it's not Vanderbilt's fault that they give them the 4th loss and all of a sudden they're not ranked either. That's just one example of things. The idea that Vanderbilt's a good team, but going to continue to – this has been brewing for a while. And it's a sad state of affairs where we have Clark Lea. I turned the volume up. The volume was already pretty high when Clark Lea's doing the interview with Kubelik on the sideline. I turned the volume up because I kept telling everybody that I was watching with, he's going to be asked why they deserve to be in the college football playoff. Because I had asked Clark Lea earlier in the week if he's ready to give his pitch. I said it's sad that he's going to be 10-2 and he has to give a pitch, but I'm eager to hear it. He was never asked the question. They let him go. They never asked him why he was coaching a playoff team. And the fact is that here's Vanderbilt at 10-2, never really put on the Coach Lea said he got on the bus, they're headed back, and at the bottom line on ESPN it said they had a 10% chance of getting in the playoff. How would anyone know that? How would anyone know the percentage chance of Vanderbilt getting in the playoff? ESPN sure does. And that's the thing. This has been written on the wall for a while.
Now, do you think they could? I discussed this when we had Clark on last hour. Going back, last hour, going back to the old system. I know a lot of people complained about the old system because, frankly, listen, it was two teams that could get in, and people felt under the old system that, it was basically a bunch of numbers and computers, and they really couldn't tell, you had to sit and watch the game. But now, fast forward to now where there's 12 teams and there will be 16 eventually. Should they go back to using the computer like they did before?
I'm okay with the system as long as there's clarity over what we're doing here. I'm okay with the system as long as the system stays the same for Greg Sankey too.
But it doesn't stay. The system they're in now, you just said it changes it seems like it changes every week.
Well, it changes every week, but they're given a certain criteria put in front of them. All right. They've got their own strength of schedule model. They've got their own data. They've got their own algorithm. Where's Greg Sankey this week? Greg Sankey, who's the loudest voice in college sports right now. We're going to hear from him because it's SEC championship week. I'll tell you what's more important than Lane Kiffin bolting for LSU, and it would have been more important last year, is that Alabama was the team on the outside looking in last year. We certainly heard from Sankey then. He's got a program that is 10-2 and not getting in the college football playoff this year. The only difference is instead of 3, now there's 6 instead of 5. And I would argue in terms of the money and the programs that get in, this is just as important as then. But I don't hear the conference being nearly as loud. It's time to lobby. If you don't want to show an SEC bias, to me, they're showing it by trying to act like there's not one. And that to me, is the whole thing is ridiculous. Treat every year the same, or it's just going to be glaring whenever it's little old Vanderbilt, and that's how they're treating this. It's because it's Vanderbilt in the front, and you still have Texas. It is ridiculous how often I heard, and Willie, you guys know I'm not going to stand on the stump for anybody here. It's rare that I'll say that I buy into these conspiracy theories, but we heard a lot about Texas as soon as Texas got their win. And yet, it just like the Vanderbilt winning the way they won at Tennessee is just an afterthought. It can't be that way. And when there's only you want to sign that the conferences are getting too large. Texas and Vanderbilt, we live in a world right now where Texas and Vanderbilt have played, and there's one common conference opponent between them. One. So even if you want to judge these teams, it's nearly impossible to do so unless you're judging them on head-to-head. And that's a rare occurrence too.
Now, listen, I understand Vandy has been doing great things in the state of Tennessee, in the city of Nashville.
Yeah.
But we got a professional team, so I gotta ask a question about the professional teams. Yeah,
we've gone this long this week without
really
talking
addressing
about the Titans.
The Tennessee Titans. But I want to, because watching that game, and I said this Monday after the game when we were on. I said, listen, there's one thing to be a bad team, and everybody understands that you're a bad team, and people can stomach being a bad team, and not too long, but they know we just don't have the talent. So going out there and winning games, okay, it's more than likely it's not going to happen. And I think Titan fans are at that point where they know this team is not this good this year. Maybe next year they'll get better, but it is what it is. But Sunday, to me, that was more than just seeing a bad team. That was the worst I've seen that team in years. That game Sunday was the worst I've seen that team. Hell, since I've been a part of the team.
Okay.
How do you feel about that? Because I just didn't feel like no one really wanted to play.
No, I agree with you on that. Mace, I'm not disagreeing that they gave off this aura of like lackadaisical, not even happy to be there, but just kind of didn't care, right? Disinterested. They were disinterested. I would say throwing the white towel. I threw in the towel weeks ago on this team. So I'm surprised that they lasted as long as they did, quite frankly. I mean, from Halloween to now is a long time in terms of the NFL season. And that's whenever they fired their coach and then turn around and now we're talking. I thought we would be talking about this topic way before now. I would also say they're just this bad. They are this bad to say, okay, they're going to give off this sense of they don't care. I don't buy into the fact that the players that they're playing would be the ones to throw in the towel. The ones that they're playing are either very young and have something to prove, or they've got guys on there that will never see this weekly paycheck ever again. They have no business being on the field. They're practice squad players who have been begging for the opportunity to be up on game day. This is their Camelot right now. So I just think that collectively they're just this bad. Now, is the interim coach doing much to change that? Are we seeing faith from that angle? Are the leaders really showing anything other than complaining about the direction they're headed right now? I mean, we all know that those comments were made about McCoy and the staff, but there's 5 weeks left, right? I mean, that's a lot of football to be played, and McCoy's either got to figure out how to make things more interesting for his players here and actually be more aggressive, or there's got to be somebody else in there that can, because there's too much time to be wasted here on some situations where it could be worse, Mace. It was pretty bad on Sunday. It could be worse.
Yes.
And there's not like there's going to be a corner turn by Cam Ward. There's not going to be some semblance of him going out and grabbing the brass ring and he's going to lead this team. No. That's not going to happen. And if it does happen, it's not going to happen until the new staff is hired in about a month or so from now. But let's not say that this is these next 5 weeks are just just kick the ball off and just go through the motions either. There are some things that can be garnered from this, as bad as it is, and that's trying to make really something even bearable out of something that's just an awful product right now. It's really bad. The team has thrown in the towel. I'm talking about the players. If you're at the game on Sunday, I commend you, because there's no reason to go and watch this team play. Even the players are showing it.
Hud, I got two quick ones for you before we let you go. One on Vanderbilt, one on Tennessee. First of all, Pavia, what do you think his chances are of winning the Heisman?
Pavia is the Heisman winner to me, and it's because of the position that Vanderbilt's in, the buzz around the program, it's the gradual incline that we've seen Willie on top of his play. He backs up his play. I also have to say he doesn't. What are his chances about it? I think his chances are good, not great, and it's because he doesn't have his closing argument on Saturday. But he doesn't have the final game on Saturday. The momentum he's got right now will soon be all about what happens in the Big Ten championship game. So I give the chances are better for, I think, the winner coming out of that game than they are for him. But that's just because of a groupthink mentality that we see far too often when it comes to the Heisman vote, where I think Pavi's going to get a ton of second place votes, which may end up helping him with the way they grade this thing. But ultimately, while I think he's the Heisman Trophy winner, I can't sit there and say that I think he's winning, because I think it's going to be Mendoza or Sam.
As Tennessee gets further and further removed from, the way the season ended, what do you think are the things that you will emphasize, or that they will emphasize to try to get better? Is it, what about staff changes, things like that? What will change?
Well, they're going to change their defense. There has to be changes on defense with the way that things played out. They have to get a true number one receiver in there. They relied too much on youth, and they relied too much on star talent than they did game talent. And look, if they don't end up getting, I think they're putting a lot of. It's intriguing to see what happens at the quarterback spot given the Pavia situation, right? I think there has to be a sentiment of those that think, okay, what just happened at Vanderbilt with the 5-star quarterback in Georgia, and moving forward, that has to be a thought in the head of not just the SEC, not just Georgia. I'm looking at Tennessee on that too. I know they have their own 5-star coming in, but yeah, I mean, there's more than just a blowout loss here to Vanderbilt. It's how it went down, and what you don't want to do is just like sweep it under the rug and say, whatever. This is Vanderbilt. It's a new era, and we saw Vanderbilt give a ton of commitment to their football program for the first time in this manner. We're all talking about Vanderbilt football, not Tennessee. And that's very unusual given where we were 4 months ago, given where we were a month ago with the Volunteers. I think a lot of that has to do with Heupel being more open to the idea of changing up some things and how things have gone in recruiting. And while things are good on paper, things have to look good on the field. And maybe that takes some adjusting on the overall side of things, where it's just like, okay, we've got our guys. Let's not focus on much else. I think there needs to be maybe an acceptance that the 5-star receiver is not always the best way to go and play, given the fact that he's going to drop the ball going into the end zone.
Jonathan Hutton has been our guest on D. Mace, Vingan, and Donick from Hot Mike with Hutton and Withrow. He joins us every week and is brought to you by A Moment's Peace Salon and Day Spa in Cool Springs. Hutton, great stuff as always, my friend. We'll catch up next week.
Click buy print at amomentspeace.com, guys.
There you go. You need a holiday gift. It's that season. A Moment's Peace Salon and Day Spa in Cool Springs is an excellent gift.
It is.
Take it from our friend Jonathan Hutton.
Can't screw it up. Thank you, guys.
615-737-1025. All right, it's time for Silly Underdog Picks Conference Championship Week edition. Derek's here. I'm here. Chris Sanders and Hal Gill will join us coming up next. You can participate as well. I'll give you the cue to call to represent the people. And if you represent the people and win, you will win a pair of tickets to see Matt Rife at Bridgestone Arena next October 24th, 2026. 615-737-1025. That is coming up next. We are presented by Bax Homeworks. Financing options are available to make your remodel easier than you think with Bax Homeworks. Get a free estimate now at baxhomeworks.com. D-Mace, Vingan, and Donick 1025 the game. You hear that music, you know it can only mean one thing. It is time for Silly Underdog Picks presented by Volunteer Hose and Gasket. And I do want to make something clear in case I wasn't clear before, because we did have a couple of people call in during the break. I will give you the cue to call to represent the people at the end of this segment. So if you want to represent the people, be listening for me to give you the cue to call at the end of this segment for your chance to win Matt Rife tickets next year. But in the meantime, let's turn it over to our commissioner, Willie Donick.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I coming at you from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, for the latest edition of the Silly Underdog Picks, presented by Volunteer Hose and Gasket. Another year of competition is winding down. We're going down the stretch, and it's time to crown a victor. But there's still some football left to be played. We have this week, gentlemen, and then we have 3 more picks for the postseason. So there's still plenty of time for lead changes and for competition. That's what makes Silly Underdogs the special competition it is. The 4 contestants, Adam Vingan, Chris Sanders, Derek Mason, Hal Gill, have been battling all season long. Let's look back at week 14. It didn't go well. It did not go well. Second straight week where nobody got a W. Hal Gill had the first pick. He made another very sensible pick. Very sensible pick. Georgia Tech, a 14-point dog, playing against Georgia. They sold their home game. They could have played at their home stadium. They decided to go down the street to Mercedes-Benz Stadium and play where they knew they would be giving up a lot of the crowd, but they got paid, I think, $8 or $10 million. Don't know if it would affect what happened on the field, but they battled. Georgia won 16-9. So Hal has been victimized with a lot of good picks recently, but no victories. Have we found Hal? He's nearby me, but he is not with me.
I have not found him, but we have Max.
We have Max Hers on the line.
Okay.
Hello, Max.
Max is since we cannot find Hal, we have to go to the committee. Hal's going to be very excited that Max was the guy that came in and is going to rescue him. So Max,
by the way,
we
guys,
don't know the whereabouts right now.
I think I have a pretty good idea of where Hal Gill is. You guys are in Fort Lauderdale. Have you checked the Elbow Room? The Elbow Room. The Elbow Room is the famous dive bar where the Florida Panthers have gotten completely sloshed after winning the past 2 Stanley Cup championships. My money says Hal Gill is at the Elbow Room. Max, can you confirm?
Max, I can neither confirm nor deny that Elbow Room has been brought up on the trip at some point. I can neither confirm nor deny that information.
Well, guys, first of all, thank you for having me. Second of all, in the past, I have been licensed to speak on Hal's behalf and make his pick. That is not the case tonight. This is a cold call that Hal knows nothing about.
Okay. So this is the committee scrambling to try to find a way for Hal to represent and be represented by his team. So this is a controversy, but you never know. Hal could surface in the next 3 or 4 minutes. We'll see. That's going to be
and if that
live
happens,
radio.
I will happily hang up.
Okay. So Max is in the on deck circle to pinch hit if needed. Adam Vingan had his pick, Nebraska, 6-point dog against Iowa.
Woof.
Sensible pick. But the Hawkeyes scored about as many points as they scored sometimes in about a 4-week span.
Yes.
40-16.
Yikes.
Iowa able to take care of Nebraska. So Adam stays at 28.5 points, and he is currently in second place.
All right. Well, as long as everybody else keeps losing, I don't mind losing as well. But a rough one for me last week.
Now we bring in Chris Sanders, who I got to see at George Plaster's Celebrity Bowling Tournament on Monday night. That was a lot of fun.
Did he have any gutter balls?
No.
I didn't see Chris bowl. He had the early shift. I had the late shift. But he seemed pretty. He was smiling on the way out. He was leaving as I was.
When is he not smiling? He's always smiling.
Hey, the worst bowler on this thing is Derek Mason. I saw him bowling. He is terrible.
Hey, Willie know that's the lie.
He had
Willie
on
know that's
receiver
a lie.
gloves. He had on receiver gloves, boy.
Willie know that's a lie.
I have lost to Derek Mason in the bowling game
I'm
at
just
Mookie
kidding.
Betts' charity bowling game. I did lose to D Mason.
Whoa.
D Mace just ripped my heart out because about
Did
6
he?
frames in, I was feeling pretty good, and D Mace made a huge run. He just dug
Wow.
down into the competitive juices.
Hey, that's what I do. That's what I do.
So Chris, you took West
Yes.
Virginia, a 23.5
Oh,
point dog against Texas
Oh,
Tech.
gosh.
The Mountaineers had a slight problem. They
They
didn't
showed
score.
up. I know. It was so
49 to nothing.
bad.
49 to nothing. What happened?
I don't know, man, but the first 32 seconds, I turned it off, so I knew it was over.
After 32 seconds. Okay.
32 seconds, man.
D-Base had Kansas, an 11.5 point dog. Another sensible pick. They actually covered, but in this contest, no points for a cover.
Man,
The Utah Utes beat them 31 to 21.
I'm sitting there and I'm watching that game, and they were up, and they had a chance to go up another touchdown. I don't know what the hell the quarterback Daniels was doing, rolling out to the right. There was nobody open but the Utah player. And he's a defensive player, and you threw it right to him, and it was a pick six. They got an interception and then got a pick six on the next drive. They totally blew the game in 2 series. They had an opportunity to win that game or at least go up 14 points, and they squandered it. Oh, I was upset. Oh, I thought
here are
I
the
had it
standings.
too.
After 14 weeks, D-Mace still has the lead at 38.5 points. Adam in second with 28.5. In third, Hal Gill, absent right now without an excuse. He might be on the beach. Like, he might actually just ditched his phone. He might be in the water right now. I don't know. He could have been like the late night guy for the swim in Jaws and just like swimming along the water. I don't know.
Well,
and then Chris Sanders still in striking range with 21.5 in
Yes,
fourth
sir.
place. So week 15, it'll be Adam Vingan followed by Chris Sanders, Derek Mason, and then we'll see. It's either going to be an unauthorized pick by House committee member Max Hurst, or it's going to be Hal. So let's start with the festivities with Adam Vingan, currently in second place.
Okay, I have my
Now,
pick
Adam, but
of-
before you make a pick, I forgot to say this.
Yes.
There's not that many games this week.
No.
As far as the FBS. So if you want, because we have done this before. So there's this. I'm not just making this up now.
You can pick anything. You can pick any
If
college
you
game.
want to pick an FCS game, the playoffs are this week. I will throw
Okay.
those into the hopper as an option.
I thought that was a given anyway.
Yeah,
If
well,
I
okay,
had known
good.
that, I would have done more research.
I thought that was a given anyway.
Well, you have the first pick, Adam. So I'm not as worried about you. I want options for the committee. I should have said this earlier, but the commissioner, as fine as I do, I've lasted 31 years in this spot. I'm not perfect.
That goes without saying. All right. Well, having the first pick, I thought, do I go with my heart? Do I take my beloved Blue Devils to beat Virginia in the ACC championship? I thought about it, and I saw UVA beat Duke. You know I love chaos, but I just can't do it. Oh, this is tough. Because now Willie has opened up a whole new can of worms for me when it comes to picking a game. But I'll stick with the FBS because that's what I know. And I will take Indiana to defeat Chris's beloved
Unbelievable.
Buckeyes in the
Unbelievable.
Big Ten title game.
Unbelievable.
Indiana is a 4.5 point dog at Lucas Oil Stadium. So that's interesting. I don't know what the fan breakdown will be with Ohio State having that great fan base and not having to drive far, but it's right in Indiana's backyard.
Mhm.
Indiana's a 4.5 point dog against Ohio State. Both teams undefeated going in. That brings us to Chris
Interesting.
Sanders with
Yes,
the second
yo.
pick.
I think David has Hal Gill, so maybe that's why it's taking it. All right, there we go.
Oh, there we go.
There we go. Sorry for the delay, Chris.
That's no
David has to
worries.
do so many things back there.
We are building up to what has been going on with Hal Gill in the last 20 minutes. This is
Yeah,
going to be
I
fun.
think-
But
oh
in
my
the
God.
meantime,
Yeah.
Chris, we have Lionel
Fantastic.
Richie.
What was that? Who
You
the
like
background
that
there?
cartoony? It's not.
What is going on here?
Okay, let's
What
put
is-
Hal on hold. I don't know if Hal's scrambling.
Mute Hal Gill. Mute him.
Come on, Bluegill. What's going on?
You guys, I'm on the beach right now. Can you give me a break?
Hal, I predicted that you were at elbow room already.
I'm on my way to elbow room. I don't want to come too early at elbow room.
All right, we're gonna get to Hal in a moment. Now we have Chris Sanders making his pick. We got to get Hal with his stuff together.
What in the world is going?
Go ahead, Chris.
Okay. I was listening to what's going on. Okay, I'm gonna go with Troy over James Madison.
I knew he was going to do that. I knew.
I'm taking the lead right there, and I'm gonna win. And I'm gonna call you guys every 5 minutes when they win.
So Chris sticking to his philosophy, which is just go for the biggest dog he can find. Troy is playing as a 23.5-point underdog against James Madison, who is ranked 25th and still trying to secure that spot in the tournament as the group of, what do you call it? The
group of five.
The group of five to get in to the field of 12. So Troy trying to spoil the party as a 23.5-point dog against the Dukes of James Madison. All right, that brings us to D-Mace for the third pick.
All right. Last week was a disappointment, but I'm in the lead, so I can't complain. I'm going to do it. I'm going to be the one that do it. That does it, excuse me. I'm going to go outside of the FBS, okay? I'm going outside of the FBS. I'm going to be the one that does it. And I'm going with South Dakota over Mercer. 5-star stadium in Macon, Georgia.
Now, if I recall correctly,
Willie,
if I recall correctly, there is a rule about the stands wrapping around the stadium.
There's no damn rule about the stands wrapping around the stadium.
Not if Georgia's here.
That is an antiquated rule that did exist at one point, where at one point there was a call and a motion. I think we did put it into loose use that you had to have stands on both sides of the stadium.
That's what I thought.
But it doesn't have to encircle the stadium. I'm going to trust that at 5-star stadium.
I'm doing it right now. I'm looking.
5-star stadium, Macon, Georgia.
They have to have some semblance of stands.
I see stands on both sides.
There you go.
I see stands on both sides.
So it qualifies. It qualifies.
It may be a football, maybe a high school stadium, but it stands on both sides. Okay.
South Dakota coming in at 9-4. I assume this is the first round of the FCS this week, right? The 16.
Mm-hmm.
Mercer is at 9-2 and has the home field. So D-Mace going outside the box and going with South Dakota. That reminds me of a game. Didn't you pick Fordham a couple years ago?
And did I win? Yes. And I won.
I mean, it was an unbelievable game. You picked Fordham, and they won. All right.
George was upset when I won, too.
He was very upset. He was questioning the two sides of the stadium, too. Let's bring in Hal Gill. Let's see if he's off the beach. Hal, are you shirtless right now?
The game's on Friday.
I still have my shirt on. I took it off briefly for a little dip in the beautiful waters here in Fort Lauderdale, and now I'm working. I am working with my committee right now. They're crunching numbers.
Oh, this is good. This is good. Is there sand all over your phone?
Lindsey Rowley, Chris Mason, they're crunching numbers right now, and I'm crushing beers.
What?
So you have number crunching and beer crushing.
I did not know we could go off the grid.
How?
I texted you this. I texted you this information, but your phone obviously was in the sand somewhere at the time.
It might have been. It might. By the way, guys, it's beautiful. You guys,
whatever, Hal. We are up here suffering.
Get to the pick, Hal.
And you're talking about the warm weather.
Make the pick.
Well, play my music. Did you play my music?
Play his damn music.
Play my music.
Oh my
ridiculous.
Listen to the committee work while we ship it
Well,
up to
the
Boston.
committee, they're crunching numbers.
Tell them to crunch
Who
faster.
do I have to thank for this? Is it Nick Barnowski? Oh no, Lindsay Rowley.
Lindsay Rowley, she is a high-ranking member of this committee.
You know what though? I love this pick because I'm wearing the hat right now. I have two daughters at Rhody, and I'm going to take Rhode Island Rams. Go Rhody over UC Davis.
Oh, he went to the F.
Oh, see?
CS. Yes.
And
I
you
like it,
needed-
Hal.
Look, Hal.
I was
this-
not
this
made
is-
I was not made aware of this FCS thing. I think it is unacceptable that I found out about it right before I made my selection. I'm protesting. I'm protesting.
Hey, I know the rules.
You can protest it, but you're not the commissioner, so you should shut your mouth.
Now, this exposes Hal, though. I mean, think about this. His daughters, Izzy and Sophie, are players at University of Rhode Island. They go there. They play lacrosse. They've been there. And Hal was not aware that Rhode Island was playing in the playoffs until like 2 seconds ago. when
I
his
knew
committee
they were playing.
crunching
I
the
didn't
numbers.
think we could take that.
Oh, okay. Well, now you know.
Well, that's been established
Now
that
I
you
know.
had that information about 30 minutes ago.
That's what comes with being a rookie. You know, you got to figure things out.
It's a rookie mistake. Thank goodness for the committee. Thanks good. The Rams are 5.5-point dogs playing out in California against UC Davis, and that is at UC Davis Health Stadium. So that's on
Go
ESPN
Rhody.
too, Hal. Saturday at 10 p.m. if you'd like to watch, or actually
Go Rhody.
9
I
p.m.
will be
Nashville.
watching.
Okay,
And there are stands on both sides.
that's very good. Good to know. All right, so Hal, you can now resume your nighttime nocturnal activities. I'll be
And
joining
crushing
you.
Willie,
beers.
we'll see you in a minute, buddy. We missed
Yes, I'll be there.
Boy, he's lit like a
you. Love you
candle.
guys. Go Rhody.
He is lit like a candle.
Willie's that guy. Willie's that guy that's waving from the inside the house. I'm like, man, I wish I was out there with you guys.
He's like, oh, I'm glad I'm not out there right now.
I hope nobody has a breathalyzer around Hal right now.
Oh man.
But it's nowhere near a car, I can assure you. It's nowhere
Of
near a
course,
car.
of course.
Okay, week 15. Here's what we got. Adam Vingan going to Indiana with the fight song playing. The Hoosiers undefeated, 4.5-point dogs against Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game. A lot of Heisman implications here, and we'll see maybe some seeding implications as well. Chris Sanders has the second pick. He goes with Troy, right in line with all of his picks. He might even set a record for himself as most 20-plus underdog picks. He's only won one so far, but he's still in the running. One more might put him in the lead. Troy is a 23.5-point dog against James Madison. D-Mace, the leader right now, has South Dakota in the 1AA. We used to call it that. The FCS playoffs, a 6.5-point dog at Mercer. And then Rhode Island, 5.5-point dogs at UC Davis. Hal Gill making the call with his committee present on the beach at Fort Lauderdale. Do not know what the intake of sauce is.
Willie, before
official.
you continue, Chase McGabe, a former contestant in this competition, has chimed in. He says two things. One, more hammered Hal. Two, Willie, please answer this. Who complains more, Kelly Holcomb or Adam? I'll hang up and listen.
Oh, Kelly Holcomb.
Oh, my goodness. It's tough to get into Kelly's range. It's definitely tough. But, gentlemen, those are the picks for week 15. And as always, good luck.
Well,
Even to Hal.
and as always, I wish that y'all teams just get buried. I hope y'all never win a game moving forward. There you go. I love you guys, though.
Yes.
Love you too, buddy.
Tis the season. We love you all. 615-737-1025. Now is the cue to call. Be the first caller right now. 615-737-1025. If you represent the people and win, you will win a pair of tickets to see Matt Rife at Bridgestone Arena next October 24th, 2026. 615-737-1025. Call now. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025 The Game. D-Mace, Vingan, and Donick, 102.5 The Game. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan here with you. Preds Insiders coming up next with me and Alex Daugherty of the Tennessean. But before we get there, let's go to our phone line and welcome in Casey, who will represent the people this week in Silly Underdog Picks. Casey, welcome to the competition. Your selection, please.
Thanks, everyone. This isn't a reach, but since our choices are limited, I'm going to go with Alabama.
Okay.
Georgia.
Well, I can't say congratulations yet, Casey. You haven't won yet, but good luck, Casey. And I hope that we can say congratulations to you. Casey picks Alabama to beat Georgia in the SEC title game. Willie, I'm seeing that as Georgia minus 2.5.
And, it's not as important for the people because the underdog just has to win.
That's right.
And there is no, you don't need points. As long as you get points, the underdog wins, you win the prize.
So good luck, Casey. If you win, you will be seeing Matt Rife next year at Bridgestone Arena. It's been an eventful show today.
Mm-hmm.
Willie blew his top. Hal might have been drunk on the air.
Mm-hmm.
Great show. Great
Hey,
show.
Listen, we had Clark on.
Yeah, Clark was great.
Giving
Connor
his
filled
spiel.
in admirably for the first hour. Thank you, Connor Newt.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Ask Connor Wade back there. Hey,
Hi, Connor.
what's going on?
So,
well,
I feel like we've done a good job today.
Yeah.
Now,
I walked in the
Go ahead.
what were you about to say?
No,
Nah,
nothing.
I was just about to get a little commentary on my doctor's visit.
Sure.
It was a great visit. Just took some tests. Seen a new primary. So my daughter told me that, Dad, you need to go see this lady. When your daughter do something, I just want to remind you, when you do have a daughter,
yes,
Adam, and Willie has one, so he knows. When your daughter says you do something, she's going to make sure you do it and get it done. And there's no to it. So my daughter told me I had to get a new primary or go see one, and I did. But it's interesting how you run into, and she was wonderful. Dr. Bess was wonderful. But then you started talking to some of the nurses, and I got a chance to sit with a nurse that was taking my blood, and she was the sweetest lady. She got to talking about Cam Ward, and he's gonna be all right. Then she went.
So you guys have a little podcast.
Yeah. So then she went down to the road to Vince Young and Steve McNair, and then she started talking about she's a Steeler fan, so she started talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers. So it's just amazing how many people follow the game of football, like unassuming people, because you don't think that everybody loves football. They may watch it from time to time, but this lady started spitting out quarterbacks and this and that and everything else, and it was just a really good conversation I had with her. But she's like Titans fans, she's a little disappointed about the season. So
and we will.
And there was nothing I can say to her to lift her up.
And look, we have gone as long as we can this week without having substantial conversations about the Tennessee Titans, but we will do that tomorrow. Cam versus Shador on Sunday. Oh boy, the takes are going to be flying.
It's going to be an epic battle.
Oh man. At least it gives us something to look forward to, or how many sacks Myles Garrett gets. That's up.
I'm looking forward to that.
That might be a take it to the
It
bank.
has to be over under
later this week. Eli Stowers, Vanderbilt tight end, will join us in the 3:00 hour tomorrow. Elliot Friedman will join us as well. A 2-hour program tomorrow with the Predators playing in Florida. And Willie, all I ask of you, once you leave us, just make sure Hal Gill is taken care of. Okay.
Yeah.
I know he's a big guy. I know he can handle it, but just any help you can give Hal Gill will be much appreciated.
The squad will be surrounding him, and they will be looking out for him. No question.
No late night swims. No late night swims.
No late night swims for
bury him
anybody
in the sand,
in the group.
up to his neck. Bury him in sand up to his neck.
Now Hal is what, 6'7"? That's a deep hole you have to dig.
No, but all he has to do is lay down. He just lay down, and you just put it all the way up.
Oh, okay.
Cover him over.
Well,
just leave him there.
That'll do it for us today. We will be back at 3 p.m. tomorrow. Eli Stowers will join us at 3:20. Elliot Friedman will join us in the 4:00 hour as well. We will talk Titans. Cam Ward versus Shador Sanders this weekend. Something interesting. There hasn't been a lot of interesting things in Titans games, so that'll be an interesting storyline. I'm sure a lot of you will be rational about it, but we will talk about that tomorrow. But for all of us here, we hope you have a wonderful rest of your evening. We'll talk to you tomorrow at 3.
Be loved, love on your people. Have a safe, blessed, and wonderful day. I love you. The team loves you. You hear that music. Don't you forget about us, because you know what? We will never forget about you. See you tomorrow. Same station, 102.5, The Game, and same time, 3 p.m. We have an abbreviated show tomorrow, people. 2 hours, 3 to 5. See you tomorrow. Peace.